Skinner with 1028 live, broadcasting on multiple platforms, hopefully. And we'll verify that here in just a sec. Actually, let me do that real quick. I'm going to refresh and see what's going on. Yep, we're good. We're good there. And I think we should be good on the Book of Face. Let me just refresh that. Make sure everybody can join the party tonight. Oh, yeah, we are good. I can't believe this, Brooks. I got it working. So we're on multiple platforms and TikTok Live, which you have just joined, by the way. We're going to let everybody know. I actually have something for you. Check this out. You're going to dig this. I'm going to leave this up tonight. So everybody knows TikTok.
Yeah.
All right.
The regular one is at Brooks Agnew. I don't know why it put $6.95 after. Who's $6.95? That's where our video is, but the video's at both places now. It's also at Brooks Agnew because there can be only one.
Right. Let me turn my speaker off real quick. I forgot about that thing. So we can make sure there's no feedback. There we go. Okay. And I can hear you. You can hear me. Bring the mic over here and get really close. All right. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is my dear friend Brooks Agnew. He is a amazing author. How do you award-winning? No, top what selling? Help me out here. I just went blank.
I've had 7 Amazon bestsellers.
Wait. Where'd your sound go? Hold on. Maybe I do need to have this. Erg. Okay, I'm gonna leave that on because all I hear is me, and you just went me. Now say something. There you go. I wonder if I can change that. I just don't want there to be feedback. So, microphone, audio. We're gonna go to.
Speakers need to be your headphones.
There we go. Oh, that sounds much crisp.
Now we're good.
Yes. All right. So, if you guys want to comment, you can. It will pop up over here on the screen next to Brooks, and we'll try to get to him when we can. But sit back, relax, enjoy the show. So, welcome to the show. I appreciate it. As always, you are just an amazing guest every time you're on, and you're an amazing friend. And you're going to be at Disclosure Con again this year for the 3rd annual. And I'm excited to hear what you got to say. But we'll save that for the event so people can come up and see for themselves. So how you been? It's been a little bit since we've talked last. I know you've been working hard.
Yeah, it's been crazy since the attack, since the first major attack of the war in late 2019. The whole country just went into hiding. It was like they dropped a big fear pellet on the entire country. And the strange thing is that once they started paying people to stay home instead of going to work, all the Fortune 500 companies that I work for began experiencing between 10 and 25% absentee rates. Well, they can't get product out the door. So they brought me in to automate a lot of those assembly lines so that they could keep production going out the door. And I have been slammed busy since the middle of 2019 until now. It's like 3 years of I haven't had a break. I mean, literally have not had a break. Of course, coincidentally, the entire lecture circuit completely dried up.
Yes. Brooks, I hate that. I don't ever like it. I have to interrupt you because I've only got sound here. It all clicked, and I'm like, because I've never done this before with the TikTok. I've got to get you on the speakers so the TikTok can hear what you're saying as well. I apologize. Let me just get that here. It should.
Yeah, I was just messing with you. I was just moving my lips and not making any sound. We're just messing with you. Okay. We can hear each other. It's just that we're playing like words can't through. We're both broadcast professionals, so we can play like this above the floor without a net, and it's just fine. So don't try that at home. Except now I can't hear you. That is to say, if you're really talking. Hi, Phoebe. Good to see you out there. John P. Adventures. Wow, that is awesome.
No, that doesn't work.
Julianne, Judy, yes, I
All
can
this-
hear you. So I guess you can still hear me. Okay, everything's good, right? Except I can't hear you because your microphone's off. I'm reading your lips and I'm laughing because I cannot hear your voice. Thank you, Julianne. You made my day. You made my day. Still no sound, Doc. You did have sound, but you must have selected something other than your microphone. So if you all can hear me, I'll go ahead and give you my bio while he's trying to work the sound problems out. I have 11 books in print, 7 Amazon bestsellers. There, what? Did I hear a sound?
Well,
Now I can hear you.
I hear me, but I can't hear you.
Oh, really? Because I can hear you and I can hear me.
Microphone. No. Oh, that's audio input. So let's put it back on Yeti.
Now can you hear me?
Yeah, it's really disappointing because I'm trying to get so that people on TikTok can hear, and it's not wanting to do that.
Judy Carr is saying, Doc, no sound. Can you? Now, Julianne is saying it's 5x5. So evidently they can hear me, right?
They can hear you?
They can hear me, but they can't hear you.
Interesting.
I don't know. Speak up, chat room, if you can hear both of us.
Yeah, Doc, no sound. 5x5. Hi, F World. All right, speakers. I've got the Yeti microphone and then speakers real tech. So say something well, let me see if I can.
Well, the speaker is
Yeah.
in.
Something has happened to this. Crap. All right. TikTok, I apologize. Go over to Facebook, Doc Skinner, or YouTube 1028 Productions and watch there. I don't know why it's not running sound for you guys, so I apologize. All right.
Judy Carr says she
see
can
you guys
hear
in a
us
bit.
both.
Now, how do I get out of here? And now. Okay. So enough of that. I'm just going to put you in my headphones. They'll be able to hear you. It'll all be good. And all right, there we are.
Okay.
So if they get, it's the best I can do. Anyway, so you've been working hard.
Bring me a 12-year-old. They can do TikTok all day long. We can't.
And Brooks, I'm sorry you just hit a nerve with that because 36 years in the entertainment industry, all the struggle, paying the dues, going to school for it at the best school, all this stuff. And these little millennials are coming in like, all done. Oh, and I'm sitting here with Adobe and all these programs just trying to do it like it's supposed to be done the hard way, paying your due anyway. So yeah, we probably could just get a little kid in here and then they'd be running the whole show by the end of it. So anyway, have we ever had not a rough start on the show?
No, it usually goes pretty smoothly.
Yeah.
If we do have problems, we lick them pretty quick.
That's true. So anyway, my apologies to everybody, but we do have some people in the chat room, so that's good. Apologies to people over at the Tick of Talk, but yeah, I'll figure it out next time. So
well, the people on YouTube are hearing us fine.
Yeah. So you got your book series out, and you've got a huge. Well, go ahead.
Well, I'm working on a sequel for Charm of Favor. Charm of Favor was it was supposed to be a prequel to the Birth series, but it turned into its own, big screen movie with its own characters, separate set of characters that were in the Birth trilogy. The Russo family, which is a father who's had a stroke, his wife, 3 sons and a daughter, and the 3 sons and the daughter all get involved in this battle of the deep state inside the Pentagon and a bomb threat, a big bomb, and it just weaves its way through the book. So the book has a great ending and people really liked it, but then they kept writing me saying, oh, now you have to write a sequel. So I'm working on a sequel for him. I'm 11 chapters into it. I wish I was more, but I'm working so much it's difficult to sit down and get in the mindset. I can write maybe a couple paragraphs a day, and then that requires a whole lot of editing because you have to sit down and thread everything back together. It's not like sitting down and writing for 4 hours a day, which is usually how I crank out a book. I write so much that my hands ache for literally weeks after I finish the book. And these books are normally, 110 to 130,000 words. So they're good sized books. And they, Charm of Favor stayed in the top 100 for 2 years. So it was a top selling book. People really liked it and they want to see it made into a movie. It would make a fantastic movie, let me tell you.
Crossing our fingers.
So this next book takes off where that one leaves off, because even though the deep state suffers a terrible defeat in that book, they don't surrender. They come back, and they come back even harder. And you can see where we are right now. Look what they did in 2020. They cheated so bad, everyone in the world saw it, and they basically said, so what? You can't catch us because we won.
The hubris is ridiculous.
Yeah.
The arrogance.
So a few days ago, Virtual Joe and his gang of criminals, that's what I call him, because somebody else is writing all the laws and he just puts his rubber stamp signature on them. But they wrote a law that takes not a double-fisted throat punch to the middle class. This one goes into the working poor. It's really quite horrendous. What they've done is they said any bank account in America that's worth $600 or more. Now, I know waitresses that have checking accounts with $600 in them. Any bank account worth $600 or more now has to report to the IRS all the money coming in and all the money going out of that account all year. And if that money doesn't show up on your W-2 at the end of the year, they're going to tax you for it. So if a waitress is working for tips and she's putting her tips in the bank every other day to cover her bills, and she doesn't pay taxes because it doesn't show that she pays taxes on her tips, they automatically take it out at work. But it's only based on the receipts that she serves. It's not the actual tips. She could be doing a lot better, a lot worse than that. She's going to have to pay income tax on that money. And Joe Biden has come out and said that he expects to raise $84 billion in additional tax revenue off these low dollar accounts. And the crazy thing is, these people that have $600 bank accounts, they can't afford an attorney. They can't afford to fight the IRS. They're going after the defenseless.
Wow.
And you're right. The hubris is just reeks. It just reeks.
I heard something about $600, but I didn't know, because it was like a flash in the pan, went by me really quick, and then you highlighted it, and I'm sorry, I'm processing this. I'm just like, God damn.
It used to be deposits of $10,000 or more cash. Then it went to $1,000. If you take $1,000 cash in the bank is supposed to fill out a form 8885 and file it with the IRS that you deposited $1,000 cash in your account. Now it has nothing to do with the deposits. It only has to do with the balance. If the average balance is $600 or more, you're going to be taxed on all the money coming in to your account. You better have it accounted for.
When does this start? Or supposed to start?
That's a good question. It was signed today. I don't know when it is going to go into effect. It may go into effect in January. What is that, Brent? Hey, Doc.
And Mr. Brooks Agnew?
I know you may not see this, but I want to say I'm a huge fan your book's birth, both copies. There's 3 copies. Okay, 3. It's a trilogy. And as well as Remembering the Future were 2 wholesome books that blow my mind every time I read them. You are one of not so many idols in my life. It's an honor to hear you both talk. Wow.
Wow. Brett,
It's
thank you
humbling.
so much.
Thank you.
Wow, that was really cool.
So you
That,
need
that
to
was,
read.
it's like it stopped me. That was so nice. Thanks.
Yeah, the Birth trilogy was such a trip because I was not working during that time. I wrote 4 books in 2 years, and I finished volume 1, and I went on a national radio tour, and of course, publicized the book. And one of the radio interviews said, "So, when are you going to write the next book in the series?" I said, "Oh, maybe next year, maybe Christmas of next year, something like that. We'll see."
Mm-hmm.
The next morning, that book got me up in the middle of the night, and I started writing volume 2. And when I finished volume 2, it just woke me up the next morning, and we started volume 3. So it was one book after the other, 1,100 pages in about 11 months.
Wow.
And it was my soul just poured into these books. And people that read them, they say that they're changing. They're changing the way they look at life, the way they look at death. And people started writing me back, calling themselves birthers, and
Wow.
that they went on the birth journey. And so they
That's
wanted me to
awesome.
write a sequel. And I said, that trilogy, I can't write a sequel to. That ending was too perfect. So I wrote the prequel, Charm a Favor, and now I'm writing the sequel to that, which is, I can't tell you the name of it yet. I won't tell you the name of it yet, but it's going to be so powerful.
Oh, I bet. Your stuff was, it's been said to be prophetic in some sense, by some. And it's when you explained it to me and how that came out before the whole thing happened in the world, I was just wow.
But there were a couple
Wow.
things that stuck out. One was there's a bomb plot that unfolds in Charm a Favor.
Mm-hmm.
And when the bomb goes off, it's just south of Nashville, Tennessee. It's supposed to actually go off in Old Hickory, which is right outside of Nashville. But they discover who it is and where he is, and they end up blocking the road. They take out the orange barrels and they block the road, and he gets stuck south of Franklin, an area that's called the Galleria area, sort of away from the populated area. So when the bomb goes off, it only kills, a few thousand people, and it's kind of a nuclear fizzle, so it doesn't really take out the electricity the way it was designed to. And then 2 years later, a bomb goes off in Nashville.
It's insane.
And the other thing that was very prophetic was about the president using the emergency alert system to reach all the people, because it accesses all the different media, your phone, TVs, radio, all that stuff, Sirius XM, everything. While the guy was reading that part of the book right there where it talks about the EAS went off on his phone. Now, he wrote me and he said that was a real mind blower. Then here I'm reading about the emergency alert system being used to access all the people with the president's message, and the emergency alert system went off on his phone.
Wow. Actually, I had something similar to that. It was a dystopian movie called Southland Tales with The Rock and a bunch of Saturday Night Live actors. Really great, drama movie. And it's the end of the world. And the day that I rented it from the video store was the day in the movie, the date and everything. It tripped me out because I was so into the film.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of similar to that, but I think moments like that are a big cosmic slap in the face. Pay attention.
Yeah, they really are. Julianne in the chat room says she loves synchronicities.
Yeah, it brings a smirk to my face when it happens. I'm like,
Well, a lot of this is so prophetic though, because when I'm writing, I mean, yes, I'm creating, I'm keeping everything in line. I have to keep track of 4 or 5 storylines because the way I split my books up and kind of tag you along. but I'm there. I'm watching it happen around me. I'm just recording, what's going on. And I do a good enough job that it makes you feel like you're there too.
Do you
And
think that maybe you are subconsciously remote viewing the future and writing it down?
yes, yes. Some people say, well, you're manifesting it. No, I'm not really manifesting it. I'm witnessing it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm displaced from time and I'm witnessing it. Even when I go to the past and I write about the founding fathers, or I write about some plot in World War II to assassinate a certain World War II general. I'm there. I'm picking up little teeny tiny sources from obscure publications or letters that I've accessed and putting the pieces together. And then when you read about it, it just blows you away, because there are
Yeah,
a lot of details in these real life events that most people miss.
that's true.
Like, a lot of people didn't know that Bill Clinton's real name wasn't William Jefferson Blythe Clinton.
I've heard, people guessing that he was actually a member of a certain family we won't mention, and changed the name. But what do you got?
Well, his original name was Tyrone, and he was the illegitimate son of a man from Louisiana that his single mother was dating. Now, what happened was, the baby was between 2 and 3 months old, and a American war hero came back from Italy in 1946, and he ended up getting in a car wreck and dying. And of course, Tyrone's grandmother, in other words, his mom's mom, was a nurse.
Mm-hmm.
And so that guy's name was William Jefferson Blythe. And
Ah.
the Blythe name came all the way from the Civil War, so it had strong genealogy behind it.
Mm-hmm.
What they did is they posthumously married the daughter to the war hero, who was already dead. And she took his name, and then she renamed him William Jefferson Blythe. And then 2 years later, she married Clinton, who was not even the baby's father, just a guy.
Was
And
that his first name or last name?
his
Clinton.
last.
Was his last
And
name?
then
Okay.
he adopted William Jefferson Blythe, and that's how he got the name Clinton.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Tyrone.
that's how important the bloodline is to the cabal. You have to have the bloodline or the genealogy. You go all the way back to the days of Christ. You remember when Jesus finished with this Eastern tour, he comes back into the Jordan area, the River Jordan, and who's there? His cousin, John,
Yeah.
baptizing people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Jesus comes up, and who shows up? The Pharisees. The Pharisees. And they come out and they say, who basically the hell are you? You're nobody. You're Zacharias's son, and Zacharias is dead. You're out here baptizing people. By what authority? They said, we are seed of Abraham. We're the ones with the authority. And John said, I could make of these rocks seed of Abraham. In other words, your genealogy is meaningless before God. It means nothing. It only means something before the global syndicate, or this cabal that has lasted for thousands and thousands of years. And now here we are, and virtually all the presidents, except one, are of that same family line, the same
That's true.
bloodline.
All of them, all of them but one. And it was a little girl, it was 12 years old, that figured it out, and she
Yeah.
actually got in the Guinness Book of World Records for it. And because she did all that genealogy.
Trump became president, but it was William Van Buren, I believe, that was the only one that was not in that family line.
Yeah. Now let me ask you this. I mean, you hear that a lot. The bloodline, the 13 family, all. What is it? Do you truly think that makes the blood so important?
Here's what I discovered as
DNA?
I was researching for the birth trilogy. It's going to blow your mind.
Okay, let's do it.
When Lucifer beguiled Eve in the Garden of Eden, You remember he first went to Adam and tried to tempt him, and Adam was an old wise being, and he said, "Get out of here."
Yeah.
So he said, "No problem, no problem. I'll just go find Eve." Now we don't know where Eve was. We don't know how even big Eden was. Eden might have been a planet for all we know.
Yeah.
But he finds Eve, and he spends a lot of time with her, flatters her, he beguiles her, and he seduces her. And when he does, she's pregnant. Well, she runs to Adam and explains to him what has happened. So
Wait. Hold on. I missed that part in Sunday school.
Yay, bet you did.
So,
read it again.
so the apple was the impregnating of Eve?
Yes. And so what happened was Eve was going to get thrown out of Eden. Well, Adam loved her. So Adam said, well, if you go, I go. So he impregnated her as well. Now she's pregnant with two sons.
Two separates. And one is
sons.
the son of...
Oh. Right. That's where the seed of Lucifer comes from. So the seed of Lucifer kills the seed of Adam. All right.
Oh, snap. Sorry. You are blowing my mind.
Yeah. Now get this. God doesn't kill Cain. Why, I don't know, but he runs him off and he goes to the land of Nod and marries a woman in Nod. Now, here's the thing about that blood. That blood can support demons going around the well of souls and being born in the flesh. And so what happened was the seed of Cain, the seed of Lucifer, ended up forming an army in the world. And they went to war with him and wiped him out several times. But what ended up happening is the seed got scattered, and it got down to where it was such a small part of the human race that not many demons could actually come to earth, only a few. And of course, those few worked in the deepest, darkest, magic. Now, DARPA comes along, and of course, DARPA is part of the cabal, part of this deep, dark, murderous syndicate.
For those that don't know, DARPA is Defense Advanced Research Project Agency. They have all the Star Trek toys.
Yeah.
So sorry, I just wanted to, for people that didn't know.
Yeah, they're the headwaters of all the propaganda that you see out there. So they go to Congress and they say, we want to spend a bunch of money and we want to sample DNA of people all over the world. And Congress said, you're not doing it. So they formed a private company and they sold it as 23andMe. So people all over the world willingly took their DNA and sent it in and paid $100 to do it, or whatever it was in those days. And DARPA started collecting the DNA. Now, what they did very quickly, it didn't take them but a few years, they figured out where the seed was on the planet. Now, the next thing they had to do is they had to force migrations of these seed into smaller areas so that they could concentrate the seed in the progeny. And once the seed got back up to a certain level, they could start bringing demons back to earth to be born in the flesh. And that's who we're facing right now. That's why.
Jesus, Brooks, let's start the show off slow.
Well, that's why God says he releases this prophecy.
Wow.
He says, except those days be shortened, the entire race of man would be wiped out. Utterly, what does it say? The earth would be utterly wasted at his coming. So we're praying.
So this would explain why the Vatican keeps the genealogy.
Yes.
But and I'll tell you, before they did all that, I was watching not Judge Judy, but one of those Judge Judy shows, and the black female judge was dealing with a young boy, and she did the swab. They got the kid think he was getting drug tested, but she was actually getting DNA, and she did it as well earlier. And they find out. She tries to, give him some pride, saying, your bloodline actually leads to royalty in Africa and all this. And I said, that's how they're going to find out who's who and the 144,000 and pick us all out. and we're going to do it willingly. And then Oprah started doing it, and next thing you know, you had the family DNA thing where you can look up all your stuff.
Yeah.
I've never done it, but
Me neither. 23andMe was a search for Captain America. They're basically
really,
looking, yes, they're basically looking for the genetic line that comes from Cain. That's what they're doing. Because then they can bring these master demons into the flesh and they can rule on this earth as lords as they did in ancient days.
you're going to just keep, I don't know how to respond. I'm just being, keep going.
Well, one of the
God,
things I
it all makes
reveal,
sense. That's why my mind is blown. It's just like click, 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 all falls into place. And like, oh, it was so simple. It's just that little piece I just did not have. And you were just supplying that tonight. And I'm just like, boom.
now you go back and you can read Genesis and you can read Deuteronomy, you can read Kings, and now you know what it means when it says the seed of Lucifer. You know what they're talking about now.
And it's all because they left out the fact that the apple was her being impregnated by Satan. Now, let me ask you this: there's the whole conspiracy about blue apples. Have you heard of that? The blue apples that deals with the mother of Christ, and
well, the blue apples.
is that? I was wondering if there was association between that.
No, here where the blue apples come from is in World War II, and actually back in the day, Socrates. What they used to do is commit suicide by putting cyanide into apples, and then they would take a bite out of the apple and die. Now, you remember the guy that invented the computer in World War II?
Yeah, it was the guy that it was IBM actually for the numbering of the Jews in the concentration camps. That was the first computer.
Yes, and Cumberbatch played this actor in the movie. And the thing that they revealed is that this guy was gay, which was not very well accepted in those days.
Great movie.
And so what he did is he did invent the computer. He did change, the cyber world forever. He cracked the German code. And then he committed suicide by putting cyanide in the apple and taking a bite out of it. And so the birth of the computer is done by a guy who takes the bite out of the apple. And that's where the blue apple came from.
God, gee, I mean, I knew because it was like the apple of all knowledge and everything. But associating it with him being the first bite, holy crap! You've never taken me on this intensive a ride before, Brooks. But God bless you. I am having fun because it's all clicking together. I mean, I know a lot of stuff, but just that one little bit of information that they left out in Sunday school,
Well,
and you don't hear about it you don't even hear the ministers talking about it, even with just the adults in there on holidays. It's never. I will go back and check it because I'm,
one of the things that I reveal in there's two things in the Birth trilogy that people pick up on eventually. It's about 1,100 pages and it comes on subtle, but it's true. And that is, well, at the very end of the first volume, the force that's leading all these chase scenes and all these battles that go on, why these generals are so rogue and why they're so intent on killing Robert Riker and stopping this consciousness signal from going out, because it's being led by a Nephilim who's holed up in Cheyenne Mountain. And that Nephilim's name is Semyaza. Now, I know what he looks like because I went to Rosslyn Chapel and I photographed the carving of Semyaza above the altar in that church. Now, the interesting thing about it is he's 12 feet tall and he's covered in fur. He doesn't look like he's human. He has a human face.
But like Sasquatch?
Yeah, like a Sasquatch,
Okay.
But highly intelligent, very ancient, and very powerful. And they have gone to war against man lots of times, but they realize that mankind is a very special being. When we get killed, innocent, we get to come back. And what they were realizing is over the thousands of years that they've been here on the earth, they were facing the same souls over and over and over again. They weren't winning. We were
Really?
reincarnating, and they couldn't stop us. The only way they could stop us is to make us choose evil or make us fight one another. And when we fight, we don't love, and that lowers our frequency. So the
True.
other Nephilim that survived, who was very crafty, a shapeshifter in the sense that he can change the amount of light that he puts off. His name is Azazel. And Azazel is responsible for establishing all of the earth's religions, all of them. And he's a master deceiver.
No
Not only did he
doubt.
establish all the religions, but then he taught each religion to hate all other religions. And then they fought wars about it.
Now, do they do this for the negative energy to thrive off that, or they do it for population control, thin the herd, easier to control, or both?
Well, of course, it thins the herd. But what happens when both sides charge across the frozen tundra at one another with battle axes in their hands?
They're not peace
They're
and
not doing
love.
it
They're
out of
just,
love.
yeah.
They're doing it out of hate, and that's what lowers their frequency, and that's what they do. They're not only lowering the population of Earth, they're lowering the population of heaven when they do this.
It's like when people would take people and create fear, like bad people. We'll just say that. Because they're like absorbing. The Celestine Prophecy movie had a great visual about auras when the new young man comes to the area and he sees this girl sitting down and goes over and tries to hit on her like you would in the city. And another woman's watching and she sees their auras and how his aura is overpowering hers.
Right.
And that's that energy. And I was like, that is the most beautiful visual representation of emotional vampires, basically. And those kind of people could be these people. It's my mind is just freaking out tonight.
That's what I liked about Redfield's book so much, is that at first you think it's a book of coincidences, that he's just like a yes man. He gets the impression to turn left or get on a bus or get on a taxi or take a flight or whatever, and it just leads him from one place to another. But it's the people that he meets along the way that teach him these greater spiritual aspects. And the first book, the Celestine Prophecy, was awesome. The second book, not so good.
Oh yeah, the 10th prophecy. What was it?
10th prophecy.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I think it was good just leaving it how it ended the first one on the plane. So, wow. Yeah. Yeah. See, like I said, I've known parts. I've never said I've known everything. I learn every day. I love to learn. But oh my gosh, I feel like some people open their eyes to things when their head's about to pop. And I'm a pro. I'm a pro at this, and you're making my head pop.
That's the beauty of these books. And by the way, all these books are in audio. Janice will tell you in the chat room. And the audio's free. So if you buy the paperback from Amazon, just write me. The address is right inside the book. Write me, and I will give you the links to the audiobooks, and you can stream it from my server. So if you're not a great reader, don't worry about it. I read these books for you. And it really, I think, adds a dimension to it. Don't you think, Janice, in the chat room? I know she's listened to the audiobooks.
She just said,
and
yes,
I have a couple of... She says, my whole family thinks I'm nuts.
Welcome to the club.
I have a reader who can read, but her husband is visually impaired. He can't read. So he listened to the audiobooks while she was reading the book. And she said normally, he'll listen to an audiobook for, maybe 20 or 30 minutes, and then he falls asleep in his chair. She said he listens for hours. He's just enwrapped, like, okay, let's go to the next chapter, the next one. And that's the way the books are written. They're written to carry you through. Yeah. And each chapter, I think the longest one is like an hour and 10 minutes. Most of them end in less than an hour. So But I still get letters from people who say, I arrived at my destination, but I couldn't get out of the car because the chapter wasn't finished yet.
Yep.
So they sit in the parking lot late
Mm-hmm.
for their appointment or their lunch because they have to finish the chapter.
Yeah, I was doing it while I'd be cleaning house and getting things
Yeah.
done because for me to sit, not that I don't enjoy reading, it's just time
Yeah.
and it flows so much better.
You
And
multitask.
you're an amazing reader, you know, storyteller, and it's enjoyable to listen to you read the story. So
I appreciate that. A lot of people don't realize what goes into recording an audiobook because nobody can read. You can't sit down and read for
no,
4 hours because your voice changes. It gets raspy and,
hmm
you have to clear your throat and stuff like that. So each time I sit down is about an hour, and that's it. I want the voice to be fresh all the way through the book. So it's 40 chapters, which is 40 hours of reading. Then, and Doc will back me up on this, there's probably another 100 hours of editing.
so true, very true.
Got little snaps and pops, and sometimes you mispronounce a word. So you do a pause or you stop the recording and start it again so you know where you stopped it. And you got to go back and edit out all those spaces.
Yep.
That's another 40 to 100 hours. So that's how much work goes into making an audiobook.
Yeah, it's uh, it's a lot of work. And people don't think because everybody's got these damn apps now. They can just do done, and we're doing it like the real way.
You
And
still have to
it
read. You
you
still
do,
have to
yeah,
read. And people
yeah,
don't like computer voices. They want the voice, they want the inflection, they want the emotion, which a computer
right,
can do.
yeah. The human
That's why
aspect of
I'm
those.
not afraid of AI. If AI ever tracked me and tracked all my purchases and stuff I did, it would turn in on itself and say, "What are these guys doing?"
Yeah. Oh man. Let me mention this real quick for those that just come on recently. I'm talking here with, of course, Brooks Agnew. His link is right here below for his TikTok page. Please go follow, like, and I'm lighting a fire under him to start putting up more videos because he just started. Yesterday?
I started, yeah, on Labor Day. You said,
Yeah,
"Hey,
yeah,
sign up for TikTok," so I did, and then I made this video, and it was too long, so I had to edit it down to 2 minutes and 56 seconds, and
yes,
I put it up on TikTok, and I don't know, it's had a couple hundred views, but that's pretty
yeah.
good for a first video.
Yeah, so you're brand spanking new. So if you're on TikTok, go over and follow him because his stuff is, well, I know they're going to be amazing videos. So, and also that don't know, let me just put this up real quick for those that don't know. Disclosure Con 2021 is happening October 2nd and 3rd at the Honda Casino Resort in Pine Top, Arizona, and it's spelled HON dash HA or excuse me, DA HON dash DAH Honda. And they'll be October 2nd and 3rd, Saturday and Sunday. And Brooks will be one of the speakers amongst many others. And tickets are limited because of restrictions on capacity. So if you want to go, you're going to need to get your tickets like now. They'll be a little more expensive at the door. So, you don't want to wait.
And it
Let
before
me,
the end of this show.
yeah.
By the way, Mary Pierce asks, 23andMe started in 2006, so how exactly are they finding Cain's descendants? I believe that the Nephilim pointed them to the DNA that they're looking for. And then what they did is they just hoped that people would send in DNA and they would be able to locate that seed where it was concentrated on the earth. And then they would work on migrating those people, force migrating them together in one place so that they could get that seed
Strong.
concentrated and get it up to a
Yeah.
certain point.
This is so crazy because, like I was mentioning earlier, that I saw this coming, but I thought it was going to be used to find the 144,000. When in fact it's to find the seed of Cain. Oh
It
my
works both ways.
God!
It works both ways. Everything that we use for good they use for evil. Like when we talk about manifesting your own future and using the power of resonance and going 8 iterations to get on the golden mean and all, they know these principles too. They work just the same for them, and they use them every day.
Yeah.
Every day they put their mission out there through all the media that they control, and they get you to put your thought energy onto their manifestation of the future. That's how they make it work.
Wow. Wow. It's. Do you think it's a battle that will ever be won?
No, it's been fought since our universe was formed. The battles can be won. The war will never stop.
So do
War
you,
only stops when the other side surrenders, and the global syndicate is never going to surrender.
well, do you think that there'll ever be that 1,000 years of peace at some point?
Yes, I think it is possible, but it's only going to occur when Lucifer is bound for 1,000 years, and all of the Nephilim, of course, are bound with him. Then what'll happen is it'll only be the influence of men on men, not angels on men. And the difference is we don't bestow blessings like angels do. You know, if you pray to Lucifer and you sell a part of yourself or all of yourself to him, he will bless you. He will make you rich. He will make you strong. He'll make you immune to prosecution. He'll make you sexy and popular, make your voice sound like an angel. But eventually, you'll have to pay it back.
Yes. Yes. And I feel like we've seen a lot of that in the past couple years with a lot of people that
People make no bones about it. You know, Lady Gaga comes out and says, the only reason I have this voice is because I went to Abramoff and I made the proper sale. And so now I have this voice that just doesn't quit. I get up and sing and I can sound like Julie Andrews. It does.
Yeah. Yeah. I had opportunities,
You know
certain
all
moments,
about it, don't you?
Yeah. And luckily I had an angel on my shoulder always to give me that gut feeling. I'm going to go this way, and I've been very, very lucky. Cause it's real. It's very, very real. And it's crazy to know that they look like you and me. They act like you and me. They live lives like you and me, but they have that side.
By the way,
and it's very real.
Mary Pierce asks, what constitutes forced migration?
Yes.
Well, let me ask you a question. How do you get thousands of people to walk 2,000 miles with nothing but the clothes on their back and their cell phone? No transportation, no food, only enough money to pay the cartels or sell yourself to the cartels, and no hope of getting across the border. Who has the power to make an entire civilization walk 2,000 miles like that these days? Who has the power to pick up the phone in the middle of the hottest economy in history and shut down 187 countries overnight?
Well, are we talking about the puppet or the?
Oh, we're talking about
the head honcho.
Yeah, we're talking when
voice.
Buzz Aldrin
I like that.
went to Antarctica.
Yes.
We're talking Buzz Aldrin. He's afraid of nothing. He's a test pilot. He broke the speed of sound when it couldn't be done. And yet he had to be medevaced out of Antarctica
over to New Zealand. Yeah.
That he saw.
And then deleted it because I think he got swamped or something happened. They're like, well, too much attention to it. Yeah. So, and see if I can segue into this. So we're talking about Antarctica, and you were just mentioning the Nephilims. There's all this talk about these world leaders that all went to Antarctica around the same time and supposedly saw the pyramids and saw things that they found that were buried. From your research, your perspective, what do you think is going on in Antarctica where all these world leaders had come to visit to see, but no one knows what it was.
Well, I don't think it was penguins. I don't think it was, some ancient thing buried under the ice. I think there's a force, an intelligence alive down there. I don't know if it's Azazel or if it's Semyaza, but it is something off-world, and it is something that um, the evil leaders of the world believe can give them enough power that they can walk fearless before men. And you watch it. I mean, Kerry and Clinton and Clapper and Brennan and these people, they kill, they intimidate witnesses, they violate law like it means nothing. They sit in front of the Senate and they lie, knowing that the Senate could put them in prison for the rest of their lives, but they do it with impunity.
Yeah.
Nothing can touch them. Nothing can touch them. And that's why that book was called Charm of Favor, by the way.
Ah, dang. Oh, that makes sense now. I mean, it made sense, but now it really makes sense. Let me ask you this. You're saying possible like an extraterrestrial force or something. Now we've learned, and I've preached it a lot about how the entertainment industry and the media soft discloses things to us through fiction. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen a lot of things basically come true. The movie The Arrival, I think it's The Arrival, was about a big seed that was sitting over the ground, and the extraterrestrials were two gigantic squids or
Well,
octopi.
with Amy Adams, yeah.
Yes, and they were trying to learn to communicate, and they used ink with patterns and whatnot. Now, you have throughout the history of media, the octopus has been referenced multiple times. Even in The Simpsons, the aliens, they're green, octopus. And then you have the scientists that just announced, I think it was in the past year. I always get confused with the COVID year. So maybe in the past year, scientists revealed that octopus or octopi, if I want to be proper about it, their DNA is alien DNA. And they're so brilliant. They can, unscrew jars and put themselves in the bottle. They can, change colors. And anyway, crazy individual creatures. What if what they found below is this entity, but if it's these squids, that could have been something alien? I don't know. I'm reaching, but it's just because a lot of movies have come kind of true recently. So I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that. Because
Well, here's the thing with
and the
movies.
Illuminati, their logo is the octopus. And at the Olympics, they had a DJ on the field who started playing music for one of the opening show or whatever, and all of this inflatable octopus legs went all the way across the fields. Putting its tentacles and everything. So, is that just something symbolic, or do you think there might be some meat to this theory?
Well, cephalopods are very articulate and very intelligent animals. And of course, being almost all liquid themselves, they can exist at very high pressures on the bottom of the sea. They can also, because we assume that spacecraft have to be filled with air, they could be filled with water, and you
True.
just oxygenate the water. That way, they don't have to have gravity. All they have to have is a medium to swim around in. So that's quite possible. But there's something about the movie The Arrival that a lot of people miss.
Oh, do tell.
When the movie first starts out, one of the things that you notice is that she's playing with a little girl. And the little girl obviously has a terminal illness and she's going to die. But it's the mother and the daughter that spend a lot of time together. And then she has these kind of split visions of her and the little girl's father, who turns out to be the man that she meets, who is the the expert on this kind of technology.
Mm-hmm.
What you don't realize is that Amy Adams is a very special being in the sense that she can time travel. She can time travel. What she was experiencing in the beginning of the movie had not happened yet. It was a future thing. The reason the aliens came to Earth was to meet her. And what they said when they finally learned to communicate one with another is, we're coming here to help your planet now. And she says, why? And they say, because you will help our planet 3,000 years from now.
So they weren't talking just humans. They were specifically speaking of her.
They were specifically came to Earth to see her.
Wow.
Because she was a very special being. Now, that's the cool thing about the movie, The Arrival, because there are beings like that on the Earth right now that can see the future. There aren't many. There are a few. And we're not really supposed to divulge what we know to the world because the world will reject it.
Mm-hmm.
So what these beings do, and some of them are good and some of them are bad, is they brief us on the future through entertainment. And sometimes, they try to let us know that it could be a very good future. And then they're punished and they come right back out and let us know how bad the future will be. Case in point, you remember the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind?
It's still my heart favorite.
Steven Spielberg came out and gave us the best feel-good movie about aliens coming to Earth, Greys coming to Earth, abducting people over decades and decades and decades of time, and then coming back and letting them all go and taking one very special guy with them to wherever it is they're going to go.
Yeah.
But what did Steven Spielberg do then?
Talking about the end sequence?
He went totally dark. The next sequence he did was the series Taken with Dakota Fanning.
On Sci-Fi Channel, yeah.
Yes. And then after that, we got Skyline and we got Battle of L.A. and it was all brain-eating aliens. We got The Edge of Tomorrow. No, yeah, we got The Edge of Tomorrow. And then we got another movie with Tom Cruise, the movie where he was a clone and didn't realize it, and he met his other clone.
Yeah, the white outfit.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the movie right now, but there were
Oblivion, wasn't it?
Yeah. There were aliens here, and they were withdrawing water and taking resources off the Earth, and basically what they used was him and a couple of others as clones to monitor and make sure everything was okay. And it wasn't until he met Morgan Freeman that he discovered that he was a clone. And then they went up to the ship and ended up killing the aliens. But so what happens is these science fiction writers who once gave us inspiration and made us actually feel good about the lights in the sky and really want to make a connection,
right?
They turned it all around and went totally dark on us and tried to tell us how terrible they were and that they were here to abduct us and impregnate us and probe us and whatever and conquer us, when that may not actually be the case. What they're trying to do is manifest a future for us by giving us those future views. Well, here's the question. Who's giving them that future? It's these visionaries. It's these visionaries that see into the future. But I can tell you through my life experience that the future's in motion. It's always in motion, and it's being manipulated. It's being influenced by us. We are the creators. There is no script. There is no God saying this is exactly what's going to happen and there's nothing you can do about it. We're the writers. We're the ones creating the Akashic record as we go.
True.
So it depends on what we concentrate on, what we dwell on, what we love. And that's a good question, Off-World Adam, about Looking
Glass. Yeah.
Looking Glass is a piece of technology. And when it started out, it was pretty primitive. It could only see a few seconds into the future. It got better. It got better really fast. Now it can see a few months into the future. But they coupled it with human consciousness, special humans that can link with this technology and give it high probability views of the future. But the problem is that if they give us the view of the future, like the founding fathers in 1776, we could choose a new future. We can decide that's not the future I want. I'm going to choose another one. And then it changes because we are that class of being. We're the ones that choose the future. And we can either let it happen or we can make it happen.
Wow. Mary Pierce says, "Are you sure it's visionaries or not tech?" And that has got me
both.
thinking.
It's both. These super fast switching computers are the ones that do the probabilities. This is what's going to happen if this person makes this move, or this country makes that move, or we make this investment, or start this company. But all that's in motion. All they're getting are probability pictures. That's all they're getting. Once they couple it with human consciousness, they get a much clearer picture. And it's sort of like Minority Report. These individuals are very, very talented. They're not remote viewers. They're actual visionaries.
Wow.
And when they couple that with the looking glass, it's crazy, the stuff that they can see. But you know what? They're not the only ones. They're not the only ones. I can tell you from personal experience, there are others who can see as well. We just can't tell everybody, because if we do, it changes the future.
Right. Makes a ripple. Someone threw a theory at me, and it kind of blew my mind. You're talking about the consciousness and everything. He kind of like made this comment and then dropped the mic and walked away. He goes, "What if in 2012 the world ended and all of our consciousness, whatever, was all uploaded to a cosmic quantum AI computer system, and we have all been living in a matrix since then, and that is why we're having all the glitches, all of the Mandela effects, and why? I mean, just think about the Matrix, right? He's in there. He doesn't know it until someone tells him, and then he starts seeing things differently. Well, what if the movie The Matrix was our Morpheus telling us, "Hey, you're in the Matrix"?
Yeah, pull that thing out of the back of your head and you'll see. Well, lots of good questions in the chat room kind of go along with this too.
Yeah.
Look, reality is a mathematical sum of the sentient beings in the universe. So whenever we have a lot of energy or a lot of numbers in a population, the average becomes very stable. So let's say we have 8.5 billion people alive on the earth right now, and let's say that 7 billion of them are sentient. And by that I mean that they're conscious. I'll put it this way: there are 500 million people in India who have never had a mailing address. They move with wherever the work takes them. Average lifespan about 47 years of age. They don't have a lot of effect on the average reality, but about 7 billion of us do. And because the population is large, the average doesn't change much. It can change when a very powerful soul is dropped into the earth, like a Jesus or a Buddha or a Trump, for that matter, who is a global influencer like that. More often, what happens is the average is shifted when groups of people come together and manifest one thing to be true. Like when I was a kid, we never thought about genders. I mean, there was male and female, and that was it. We knew gays existed. Of course, they did when I was a kid too, but we didn't have 17 or 26 or 36 genders. Now we do, because we've manifested it. We've changed the average reality. You can make your own reality. And within the constraints of the average reality, for instance, you can't fly and you can't breathe underwater. There are certain constraints to the average reality, but you can make your own bed. You can become wealthy. You can manifest poverty and scarcity. You can repeat habits over and over and over again, which also limits you. But you actually have the potential of all potentiality sitting before you. All you really have to do is learn the tools to be able to put an idea into the future and then listen to the energy around you and put energy into that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a very good point. And it is important that we don't lose sight of our individual soul address, because this is what mortal existence is all about. It's what we crave. It's why we come here. We all do. And fortunately, in this country, we can exercise our free will pretty much as we see fit. I mean, those days are soon to come to an end, but
Yeah.
yeah. And no, numbers are not imaginary constructs, Matt. They're actual values, okay? Math is the secret to the universe. When Source took the square root of itself and created all of us, we are still part of the original source, but we're all increasing in stature with every minute that passes, every moment that we consider. Our ability to do things, to weather things, to create things improves all the time. And the more we pursue that, the more we realize that, the more powerful we can become. And the fact that we can live as long as a tree now makes us very, very powerful beings. All we have to do is realize that, and realize that hopefully nobody has the ability to shut us down.
You made a comment in there. It made me think, how far away do you think we are from immortality with all the technology and medicine these days?
We are eternal beings. We're just having a mortal experience. Mm-hmm. If you really want this physical body to live forever so that you'd never have to leave mortality, I don't think that was the point ever. I think that we, as groups of spirits, we travel together from world to world and through time and all eternity. We work together and we see each other often in lifetimes. Sometimes we don't see each other because we're separated by an ocean or a war or whatever, but we crave, and when we do run across each other, we immediately gravitate to one another and stay together for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, my 3 kids all remember me and I remember them. But here's the really crazy thing. My youngest son was once my father. That's how we know this role so well.
Wow.
We travel through eternity as mortal beings, having mortal experiences. And each time we live and die, we learn great lessons. In a past life, I was a warrior, and I was a successful one. In this life, I have never touched another human being in anger because I learned my lesson. No more war, no more violence. In this world, I use my voice and my intellect, and I'm just as powerful as I was on that world.
Wow. Glowy von Gersh made a comment. It's already gone down the screen. That it's her first time watching, and she's hooked. And then she goes, "Oh my God, I love you, Brooks. I knew as a wee little 5-year-old that life was a mathematical formula." So thank you, Glowy. I hope you enjoy the show.
That's why the name of my program is X Squared Radio. Everything put into that formula comes out positive.
How am I missing all this stuff? Oh my God. That's brilliant. Brilliant. Wow. I see. That's what you put out, all these little Easter eggs. I love that. And, okay.
And Off-World Adam makes a good point. It's good versus evil. To be more accurate, it's light versus darkness.
Yes, I agree.
Darkness believes that darkness was the origin of the universe, and everything will return to darkness in the end. And that's why they're at peace with it. Wow. They're okay with going into outer darkness.
It's just the way you word things. You are just... Normally, we do shows. I'm like, oh, yeah. Tonight, I am just like tripping out. And I can't wait because, folks, just so you know, I have this little rule for all my speakers that come to Disclosure Con. I tell them, I don't want anything you've done anywhere else. I want it to be something new, fresh, something special, to disclose. And this is just tonight's show, folks. Imagine what is going to come out of him when you're there in person at Disclosure Con, October 2nd and 3rd at the Honda Casino Resort in Pine Top, Arizona. Get your tickets now, disclosurecon.com.
And I will tell you, the presentations are all world class, but you know what you really need to save time for? The panels. The panels are where the fireworks happen.
Yeah.
Just like this. Just like this. These questions come out, and I try not to dominate, the microphone. I am tonight because I'm the guest, but
of course,
it's when there's 7 of us on the panel, you never know where it's going to go.
Yeah, and this year we'll have 10. This year we'll have 10, and we might extend a little bit of an hour. We might just run an extra hour late on Sunday night, and then go to the.
What you should do is, after each panelist speaks, they take a shot of Fireball. And then it goes around again.
Oh my God, that's such an amazing idea.
The next level. And...
oh my God, that is brilliant.
It's only it's like 21 proof or something like that. But
I'm gonna get one. I'm gonna get one of those really big bottles, and we'll just put it on I'll be the bartender. I'm not gonna be speaking this. I'm not going up and jumping. It's just gonna be all you guys. But I'll bring the Fireball.
In years past,
wouldn't that be a first? Would that be a first? A Fireball shot talking panel?
No, but it's a good idea. In years past, we did this around bonfires. We would have panels, and then people would sit, with blankets or sleeping bags or whatever, and we'd do it around a bonfire. Of course, you had to speak kind of loud so everybody could hear.
Yeah,
it's magical. It's just magical.
I think we should do it.
That's why I have an open flame in my man cave. I've got one of those propane, fire pits. Take the panel out and light it up, and that way we open the garage door in the wintertime and light that, because it's a man cave, and then you have in your cave. So
right. I'm just, dude. Brooks, this is probably, I have to say, probably the best show I've ever done with you. I mean,
it's the last show.
Oh my God. It was a couple months ago, but this, that's why I love talking. You just, no words. All right, let's see. Julian Ferguson, CS88 says, I'll be there. Well, wonderful. Be sure to get your tickets over at disclosurecon.com. Yay. High Tech Kippy says, agreed. The bonfire setting is always best. How did I become Canadian all of a sudden? His bonfire setting always best. And also says Fireball is a great idea. Yes, Julianne, I think is how you say it. John D'Souza will be at Disclosure Con. Can I do a little roll call so they know who's coming? Real quick, Brooks, would you mind? All right, let me do that real quick over here and type in Disclosure Con. There we go. Because my mind is just, I don't want to forget anybody's name, so let me get in here. We got Ben Chastain from Edge of Wonder and the new network Rise TV. He'll be the MC of the event, so I don't have to. So I'm really grateful for him for that, and he'll be speaking a little bit. And then we got Jess, John D'Souza, former FBI agent, 25 years, the inspiration for the X-Files. Yeah, we'll be talking about whatever he wants, really. That's a thing. A lot of places will say, well, we kind of need you to talk about this and stay in this parameter. And I'm just like, whatever you want. Mike Barrett from Ancient Aliens, he'll be here as well.
Nice.
Yes.
I haven't seen Mike in a couple of years.
Yes, you guys were together at the first Disclosure Con, so it's really good to have him back. He actually, the second one he couldn't make, and he called me. He's like, man, I'm in contract with the History Channel. I got to go do Alien Con. And I'm like, oh, man. He calls me after. He goes, I don't want to do that next year. I'm going to come in the Disclosure Con. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. We got Travis Walton, the man behind the story Fire in the Sky. Blake and Brent Cousins are going to do a video presentation from Hawaii. from Third Phase of Moon. Seer of the Unseen, Christopher LaPrath. He'll be here as well. Then Brooks Agnew. Jim Goodall, expert all spycraft on the planet. He's the man. Also best friends with Bob Lazar and John Lair. Paula Asteria. We all know Paula. How many? She's been on your show a lot, hasn't she?
A couple times, and I've been on hers a couple times. She's a Hollywood supermodel. Not working a lot because Hollywood's not working a lot, but she's doing a lot on social media, and her podcast is really, really popular.
Yeah, Paula's Odyssey on YouTube. Check it out. She's just awesome. And let's see. Yeah, so we're gonna have that. It's gonna be Saturday and Sunday all day. There will be breaks in between speakers, so no one's going to be on top of each other, and you'll have time to go to the vendors and meet with the speakers, and get their books and sign and autograph, all that fun stuff. And if you get a VIP pass, which there is only 100 of them, you get a lot of cool stuff with that. You get a little thing of goodies. You get to go to the private VIP parties both nights with the speakers, and we get it on. We get a groove going. It's crazy. We had dancing aliens last time.
Oh, it was
awesome. that were abducting people.
I laughed so hard. That was so funny.
I think I should get those outfits just to make that a tradition, because I was so shocked when they came out of nowhere. I was like, what? But yeah, it was a lot of fun, and the beautiful thing about getting the VIP passes is get to hang out with the people that inspire you and educate you on things, and you're not standing in line in front of a crowd of people, waiting to ask a question at the microphone, and then you forget when you get there. So it's a very relaxed environment. And on the second night, we have the fireside chat. I think this year with Fireball, and that's really cool because we all just sit around the campfire and
big fire.
Yeah, it's a huge fire, and we have a great time. We even have instruments pop out once in a while, and Travis, I think, had a guitar last time, and we sang. Had a little sing along. That was a lot of fun. We actually did that the first year too. We had a couple of people. It was a good time. So if you want the full effect of the weekend, get a VIP pass. If not, there's regular admission, and it's for 2 days, not for 1 or 1. It's just you get the 2-day pass, and get your tickets now, because there's only 100 general admission, 100 VIP, and I think 50 teenager tickets. So that's what I'm saying. It's limited. Get them today. DisclosureCon.com. All right. Now, you've been talking about, you do so much. You invented the electric truck, for crying out loud. And didn't you create an earthquake or something with a little lab experiment? Was that a conspiracy story about you?
Invent what?
Did you like do an earthquake in a laboratory experiment, or was that a conspiracy theory?
Well, yeah. What I was an expert on was HAARP, the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually invented ground pumping radar in 1983 to explore oil and gas.
Wow.
And I wrote a white paper at the end of my 9 states, 55 oil wells. It was pretty successful. And it was that white paper that Congressman Gene Manning read and invited me in 1997 to be part of a documentary called Holes in Heaven, which was a documentary about HAARP. Oh. And Holes in Heaven was
write that down.
One of the absolutely far and away the top documentary ever done on HAARP.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when they asked me to be part of it, I asked them, about what the technology was. And I said, yeah, that's pretty much the technology. But I said, what frequency are they using? Because I didn't ever divulge the frequency. And they were using pretty much the same carrier frequency that I was using in the 80s. But I was using 50 watts and they were using 1 billion watts. So I said, no. You cannot put that much power behind that frequency, because if you do, you're going to heat up the ionosphere. And they said, yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. They're heating up the ionosphere and pushing it out into space and creating a kind of parabolic mirror. And then what they're doing is they're bouncing low frequency waves off this to scan the Earth for oil and gas. I said, yeah, but there's two risks with this. Number one, when you push the ionosphere 60 to 80 kilometers out into space, it creates a void. And what you will do is move the atmospheric river and you can steer weather.
Yeah. Weather or manipulation, yes.
Right. The second thing that happens is because you're focusing that energy is you can create a solar tap. And a solar tap is basically a ground wire between the ionosphere and Earth. In other words, you could cause an ionospheric lightning bolt, which would be it would pulse between 10 and 16 times a second. And each pulse would be 2.8 megatons. And it would vaporize 6 to 8 inches of soil for 1 to 1.2 kilometers. It would turn it into pure energy. And that would run for a couple of minutes, which would do two things. One, it would completely discharge the energy of the ionosphere surrounding the Earth into Earth, which would leave us defenseless to the solar radiation. The second thing it would do is it would fill our stratosphere with particulate matter after blowing off about 200 nuclear bombs. So we'd go into a winter that we wouldn't recover from for 100 years, maybe more. And I said, they're playing with fire. That's why we did the documentary. So when I was on that Holes in Heaven. Then what happened is History Channel contacted me and wanted to know if I could build a scale model and do it on screen. And I said, yeah, I can do it. I can build a small one and show you how it moves weather, what it does to water molecules in vapor. So I built one in my lab in Santa Monica. And hang on a second. Phone's ringing. I did that. I built a small one on History Channel, and we ran some laser lights through it so you could see the vapor in the chamber. And when I turned the harp on, about 3 seconds later, all the water vapor was gone. So then Jesse Ventura with Conspiracy Theories on their debut program wanted to do on weather warfare. So they called me, and I went back to the lab, got my chamber, took it down to Burbank, set it up again, and did it again on his program. And then Science Channel called me, a program called Joe Rogan Questions Everything. And I said, well, this time I want to build a bigger one. I want to build a 64 cubic foot one. So I'm going to need a little bit of a budget. So they gave me the budget, and I built one 64 cubic inches, 64 cubic feet, which is a big chamber.
Jesus.
So the night before the interview with Joe Rogan, the film crew came to shoot the B-roll. You know what B-roll is? It's just you don't want to have the star hanging around while you're shooting this roll, so you shoot what's called B-roll. Well, it was cool that night, about 73 degrees in the lab, and we could make a cloud really easily in there. I turned it on and totally obliterated that cloud in about 6 seconds. 64 cubic foot, real cold vapor cloud, gone. And we got a new film. So the next day,
I'm gonna have to watch that movie. Yeah, keep going. Sorry.
The next day, Joe Rogan came, and it was about 80 degrees in our lab. So they said, okay, make your cloud in a room of 80 degrees. So I made the cloud. I struggled, but I got the cloud made. Now, the issue was the room was warm, and so there was turbulence in the cloud. The vapor didn't just sit there. It was kind of rolling a little bit inside this chamber.
Okay.
So when I turned the technology on, which this one was about 2 million volts, when I turned it on, of course, the water vapor just evaporated. It all went into gaseous state, charged all the water molecules, boom, just like that. And he claimed that it was heating it up. I said, no, it's not heating it up. This is 80 degrees. The room's 80 degrees. It's not heating it up. So it was kind of interesting because he said, well, bring the antenna to me. I just had the antenna sitting on top of it. So I opened the door, got the antenna, and I handed it to him. And he said, well, it's warm. I said, yeah, it's warm, but it's 80 degrees. He said, and this, I swear, is what he said, I wouldn't want my balls on it. And I said, I'm on camera still. And I said, well, there you have it. Joe Rogan has a calibrated set of balls. All that got edited out. That wasn't on the program. It never aired. But it was on the film and everybody cracked up. So
oh my God.
Anyway, the point is they didn't make me look very good on that program because that was his job. His job was to be a smart ass, and he was.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Joe Rogan isn't a smart guy, but that particular character that he played didn't sit very well with me or with the audience, and actually the program didn't last much longer after that episode.
Yeah.
The point is that HARP is real. It is real technology. I can demonstrate it. I still have the technology in my lab. In fact, we just built the first brand new generator in 70 years. First new generator in 70 years. I designed it. I had it built by the same company that built the original one back in 43. And it came out perfect. And it just went through its performance tests this month. And it did really well.
Wow, congratulations. That's new news to me too. I like that.
Well, we don't use it to manipulate weather. What we do is we use it to create a magnetic field driven by square waves. So it's a DC magnetic field, not AC.
Okay.
All positive waves. We don't use any negative wave. It's just a square wave. And we pulse it at the Schumann resonance, the original Schumann resonance. And we use it to heal the body. And it's really effective against Parkinson's disease. It's really effective for cognizance and eyesight, and it recharges the human cells for about 24 hours. So if you use it every 24 hours, you can stay at that new voltage. When your cells divide, they will divide at a higher voltage, and it can reverse aging a little bit.
That's very cool. Before we go too far with that, because I mean, maybe I want to talk about med beds possibly, but Eric J. Hacker, he was on my show last, and he spent I think it was 366 days, one more day than a year, in Antarctica, and he discovered some things, and that's why I put it up here because I didn't want it to get lost on. Once it goes down past the screen, you can't scroll back up, so I put it over to the left. And he came on and he talked about the ice cube neutrino detector ring, or detector, not that's ring a bell. It's a separate thing. So of that because I mentioned you on that show, and I was like, you guys, I really got to hook you guys up so you guys can share stories. And
so
he's in the chat room.
366 days was contiguous, right?
Yeah. He was there the whole time. Dark time. Yeah, he's a special kind of because they have to go through serious psychology stuff and training. They had to put out fires
in the wintertime. It's like 5 months. You're in a room. You're basically in your building. You don't travel between buildings.
Yeah, well, I mean, he was talking about how some things happened, like there was a fire, and they had to during. So so he's down here, Eric J. Hecker, and it was a great interview. But he did talk about these ice cube neutrino detectors, and when he explained it to me, I even said, "Sounds like a heart, kind of, all these little holes that go down to something, and it's just a gigantic ice microwave sprouter. Jesus,
well, it's a collector.
Thank you. You sound so smart. I love you. Thank you."
The neutrinos come in from space, and the reason they have it on Antarctica is because they come in unfettered from Earth's magnetosphere on the South Pole.
Because it's like a donut.
You can't do it on the North Pole because the ice melts in the summertime, and you can't build anything permanent up there because it's on water. What they want to do is build it on continent. That's what they have down there. So this neutrino lab is capable of detecting these extremely tiny particles because Earth is not very dense, a neutrino can travel through about a light year of Earth without hitting anything. So they built this out of lead and beryllium and all this stuff, very, very dense, and they can actually catch these neutrinos and gather their energy and their photon information, like where did they come from and how far away and was the star rotating and all of that stuff they can get from those neutrinos. It's a great lab. I've always wanted to visit it.
Well, like I said, his name is Eric J. Hecker, and he spent a full year in Antarctica. And after the show, I told him maybe we could do bring him on, but tonight is your night, so but another night we could have all three of us together, and you guys, I'll just sit back and be the commentator, just listen. I'm a very good listener.
I spent several years touring the Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatories. So one in Hanford, Washington, one in Livingston, Louisiana. And in 2020, I was scheduled to visit the one in Pisa, Italy. But of course, the made-for-TV virus rescheduled all that. And I still have not been to that lab. I haven't let up. I've been working the whole time. So maybe if work ends, in the next year or so, I'll get to Pisa and get to see that one. So I will have seen all three labs, all three observatories on Earth.
Wow. That's a feather in the cap right there. Now we do have some people that you're new to them tonight. They're experiencing you for the first time. Yes, you have a few here, and so and they're new to the show too. So welcome. People are going to ask me about the North Pole Inner Earth Expedition.
Mm-hmm.
It's npiee.com.
Yep.
And you can go there and learn about that. But can you give a little synopsis for those that don't know what this voyage is all about?
Sure. When I started writing the Arc of Millions of Years series with my co-author, E.J. Clark, we were about a couple years into the first volume, which took us 4 years to write. It was an enormous book, and we had 44 ancient cultures to research, which took a lot of travel and a lot of money, and we ended up getting it done. But somebody brought me a book called, I think it was Our Hollow Earth. I'm thinking that's what it was. And I read it, and I put it on the shelf. I really didn't give it much credence because I was, went to college and learned the traditional ways that, planets are made from accretion disks, etc. And as we finished volume 1 and started getting into volume 2, some evidence started to come forward from some of our space programs that caused my old colleagues at JPL to spend some money, like big money, to find some answers. And I said, well, don't you guys already know those answers? And one of them was, what's the source of the auroras? We always thought they were caused by the solar wind. When in our summertime, our North Pole is aimed toward the sun. And so the South Pole, we get the aurora australis, because the solar wind collects on the other side where the magnetosphere comes together, and it excites the ionosphere to a point where it has to let loose some energy. And when it does, it's these colors that show up. And likewise, in our winter time, the South Pole is aimed toward the sun. And so the rays come around and collect on the North Pole. So we see the northern lights. What threw them off is there were lights over both poles at the same time, and they did not know why. So they built the Themis Probe, and the Themis Probe consisted of a big nose cone with 5 satellites in it. That's expensive.
Yeah.
They launched it and put these 5 satellites into 5 different orbits. And when the satellites lined up like Jacob's ladder going out into space, they turned them on to try to take a measurement of the energy that was happening in our upper and lower atmosphere to see if they could find out why the northern lights happened. Well, they discovered this interdimensional cosmic bullet that just exploded out of thin space. Nothing came in, it just appeared. And when it exploded between satellites 4 and 5. Of course, the boom went out everywhere, and it went past satellite 5 and on out into space. but it also passed 4321, and when it struck the Earth, there was the aurora. So they issued a paper that said, that's it. The source of the aurora is cosmic bullets. One paper, one experiment. And I said, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense to me at all.
It's just kind of,
That's a total coincidence. That is not repeatable or reliable. Of course, the satellites are all scattered now, so they can't do it, but can't repeat it. And it caused me to start gathering some more information from different sciences. So I went to seismology and oceanography and planetary core geology and started pulling all this information together and analyzing it. And none of it made any sense. None of it correlated with itself. In fact, it started to call into question the theory that we live on a molten ball floating through space and we live on tectonic plates like cornflakes in a bowl of milk. I promise that's the way I always thought the Earth was made, and you did too.
Yeah,
plates and all this.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, that evidence didn't point toward that anymore. It started calling all that into question. And you know what we scientists do when there are questions? We start seeking answers.
Yeah.
So Cambridge built an experiment along with Japan, and they measured the frequency coming from the center of the Earth. And they said, well, it looks like iron to us. Well, yes, it did, but it wasn't exactly on the iron spectrum. And there was a second wave to it. So it didn't really make a lot of sense. So Carnegie Science decided to repeat the experiment. Instead of measuring the core, they tried to duplicate the wave. So they built a diamond anvil. They cut the diamond in two, put it on hydraulic rams, and put a crucible about this big in between them and filled it with iron and smashed the iron between these hydraulic presses. Like, this is the center of the Earth and there's a lot of pressure. And then they shot a laser through the diamond and heated up that iron until the waves matched. And when the wave matched, it was 5,000 degrees C, which is, by the way, the temperature of the surface of the sun. So here we had this iron, but here was the second wave. They couldn't figure out what the second wave was. They kept duplicating and duplicating and duplicating, and finally they figured it out. For over a century, we have wondered why our own atmosphere violates the law of partial pressures. The law of partial pressure says that when there's a liquid and there's an airspace above it, you can sample the airspace and it will be the partial pressures of all the chemicals in that liquid. So if I were to take, the headspace of this Perrier bottle, you'd have a liquid up to a certain point. Then I'd take a sample from the headspace. All the chemicals in the Perrier are also in that headspace in the proper proportions, called the law of partial pressures.
Okay.
Xenon's been missing from our atmosphere forever. We have it in the ocean, but it's gone from the atmosphere, and it never makes any sense to us.
So xenon, I'm thinking fluorescent lights for some reason, but what do you mean by xenon?
Noble
Is that what goes in? That's what goes in there?
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
So they decided to inrush xenon into the iron filings when they smashed it and shot the laser into it, and the waves matched perfectly.
Meaning?
It turns out that iron forms a perfect crystal when it's matrixed with xenon. So our core is a solid iron crystal at 5,000 degrees C, matrixed with xenon. And it's about 1,200 miles in diameter. Now, this thing exists at about 14.5 grams per cubic centimeter, which is about 13 times heavier than Earth. Wow. And it means that Earth's the wrong diameter. Because if Earth's really that dense, our orbit's way too small going around the Earth, going around the sun for the amount of time
it'd be heavier. It would go further. Yeah, that makes sense.
Correct. Okay. It would swing out further. So what we gathered is that the crust, which is about 900 to 1,000 miles thick, is a different construction than the core. The crust is about 1.5, 2 grams, which is what we'd expect. But the core is 6-7 times heavier. which means there's a gap between the core and the crust. And that's where hollow earth theory started to really call into question the hypothesis, our original hypothesis. So we have this hypothesis that there is a vent. Oh, and the other thing that happened is Dr. Y. Sessions at Washington University collected 600,000 seismograms, got his grad students to put them all into a computer and modeled them, and they discovered another ocean the size of the Arctic Ocean underneath the Atlantic Ocean inside the crust. They could see the waves crashing on a shore
How
inside the crust.
how do scientists, seriously? I mean, how are they able to see something like that so far below the Earth?
Because the
I mean,
accelerometers can pick up the damping waves of the water.
science is so cool. I mean, sometimes it's way beyond me, but oh my God, that is so wild.
Well, so the point is that there's an ocean on the inside of the planet and there's an ocean on the outside of the planet. So I said, well, if that's true, there has to be two different sea lives because you're exposed to different radiation. There's no date, there's no nighttime. All these things are different on the inside than they are the outside. So the sea life has to be different. And lo and behold, in 2008, a big piece of ice broke off, opening the Northwest Passage for the first time. And in 2009, 1,500 new species of rays showed up in Malaysia, along with a frilled shark and a dorsal squid.
Oh,
we haven't seen them in millions of years.
Okay. All right. So, as you're talking, all these things throughout my life that I've learned, it's been said that the Great Flood was water from within the earth that sprung out and flooded the earth, and then it slowly drained back down, bringing up sea creatures and monsters that, afterward. Oh my, I mean,
so the hypothesis is that there's a vent. There's a vent in the Arctic Ocean somewhere where these two oceans blend. So to prove the hypothesis or disprove it, we want to take a mission on a Russian icebreaker to that area. It's about 10,000 square miles, which sounds like a lot, but it's only 100 miles by 100 miles. And we want to survey that bottom, which is about 14,000 feet deep. It's not shallow at all.
Mm-hmm.
We want to survey that bottom and see if we can find fossilized sea life that's different than ours. Gather the crystallinity, the salinity, the acidity, all that of that water, and see if we can find that vent. If we find that vent, it will change geology forever. There'll be a boatload of Nobel Prizes on that boat.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be a historic adventure. I just put the website down below for anybody that would like to learn more details about the website and the expedition itself. And you give a pretty good, thorough itinerary of what we will be doing.
We want to go 15 days. It's going to cost about $3.5 million to charter this ship and make this happen and get all these scientists onto the boat. We're going to recoup that money because I have a satellite. I have access to a satellite. We're going to beam live feed 4 channels up to that satellite, download from the satellite to 2 different continents, and live stream it.
Mm-hmm.
People will buy that live stream for about $10 or $12. They can watch for the whole 15 days. We already know we have a fan base of about 40 million people out there. It's only going to take a few 100,000 at that kind of money to recoup the cost of the venture. So what we're trying to do now is find the money to make it happen. And once we do, I'm sure it will pay for itself because we'll market it correctly. But it's a scientific expedition. This isn't woo-woo. I don't believe in the hollow earth. We're going to find evidence or not find it.
Mm-hmm.
We think we know where the opening is, plus or minus 100 miles or plus or minus 50 miles. And we're going to survey that bottom for about 8 days. We'll be breaking ice.
Do you believe that, I mean, you're saying you can go either way with it. Do you believe that there's something to the fact that we're not allowed to fly over there? The satellites aren't allowed to fly over top of the planet because supposedly there's an opening deep. Well, what's
Well,
your
the
what's your
satellites
thoughts?
fly over it, but the Data Denial Act is an international treaty that was issued in 2006, and it forbids the publication of any images of the Arctic region because those images can be used for targeting systems for cruise missiles, and that would allow cruise missiles to fly over the polar cap and target North America. So
Hmm.
they don't let those images out. We never see them. You can't see them on the internet. Google Earth doesn't show them. Everything is animated that you see above the 80th parallel in Google Earth. Don't believe anything you see of the Arctic because
Mm-hmm.
it's all cartoons. It's not real.
Mm. Wow. So many questions, so many questions. But I don't want to pry too much out of you tonight because this is kind of like a taste test. you know, get a little flavor in and say, I like this. I want to hear
Oh,
more, and then come to Disclosure Con, and you get a pass. You could even ask them some questions at the fireside chat. Um, man, This is the best show I've ever done with you, hands down.
no.
No,
Since
we've
the
done
last,
we have done amazing shows. Don't get me wrong, but on the mind blown scale, which it's blown the scale. Um, yeah, I'm not
yeah,
saying I feel stupid. I'm flabbergasted because I'm just wow. It's so refreshing to hear new stuff or new revelations on things, and it always happens when I'm around you. So it's thank you. Let's see, we got about another 15 minutes. Uh, what else would you like to discuss?
well, I mean, we could discuss. A lot of people are talking about this Great Reset, and they're having a lot of questions about it. I'm also a mathematician, so I spend a lot of times doing a lot of time doing economic analysis,
Mm-hmm.
and I can bring a lot of this stuff into clarity for people. What's going on, who's doing what, why they're doing it, and what it means for you individually.
Wow, it's always awesome having you. Just amazing. Um, let's see. I'm looking at the chat room. Everybody's saying it's a great show, no doubt. Great conversation. Upward Adam asks, is it true cosmic particles coming out of the South Pole are going in reverse? Oh, in reverse time. Yes, scientists said something about they not a portal that was in space, but they found something wrong with time. Help me out. Who said that? Off world. I'm grasping on what you're trying to say, but I can't think exactly what
Well,
the story
there
was.
are a couple things to take into consideration here. One is called the observation effect,
Uh huh.
and the other is the realization that time is not linear; it's spherical. So when you're at the South Pole and the electrojet is coming out of the South Pole, going out into space and curving around as flux lines to go back around to the North Pole, these flux lines are continuous. They never break. That's one of the principles of magnetism is that the flux lines don't break.
Hmm.
Um, one of the things that we realize is that we have, like, for instance, when we look at waves, we try to analyze the speed of the particle or the location of the particle. It acts as a particle. When we don't observe it as a particle, we just let it happen. It acts as a wave and behaves as a wave and formulas as a wave. Time does the same thing. So in uh, atomics, or shall I call them subatomics, or quantum mechanics, when we observe time, sometimes it stops and sometimes it goes backwards, and then it comes back when we
Hmm.
stop observing it. So a lot of these labs are looking at waves with particle mathematics, and what they're actually seeing is the past.
I saw an experiment where a man had another gentleman in a chair, and he had a stick with a light ball on it, and he said, "Move it up and down." Okay, that's the light bouncing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, now move it. So he puts them on the chair. It's actually on a dolly, and he starts moving them across the stage as he's doing this, right? Well, what was happening is it was doing like this, and he said that distance is longer instead of going like this. It takes longer. So technically, the ball of light and the person have traveled through time. It's very minute, but it was a really cool visual and how he explained it. I know this isn't a ball of light, but it was what I had right here. So, what do you think of that? I mean, do you agree that the longer the wave, that's actually a form of time travel?
Well, it's a Doppler effect.
Okay.
When Doppler first made his discovery, it was while flying an airplane, and then this is with radio waves, and then we duplicated it on trains. And you've all seen the movie of the flatbed with the band on it, and the band plays the note C. They all play the horns, all play the note C, and the train comes towards you, and you hear the pitch go as it
goes by.
you. It goes up in pitch. As it goes away, it goes down in pitch. Even though they're playing
the same note, yeah,
it's because the wave can only travel so fast, like the speed of sound. But the speed of the train subtracts from the distance, and so what happens is the waves get compressed into a smaller space, and the pitch goes up.
Yeah, because instead of like this, it's
the distance between the peaks is compressed, and the pitch goes up.
If you were teaching in college, I would say. If you were teaching in college, I'd say sign up for your classes.
Yeah, because I can make them interesting. But
yes.
Anyway, we don't think that light does that. We know that the frequency of the light changes. As stars go away from us, they redshift. As they come toward us, they blue shift. But what we're discovering is that maybe time does the same thing. And even though it's infinitesimal, if the effect can be amplified,
yes,
essentially you could travel vast distances of space in less time relative to you.
Do you think we have time travelers that have visited us?
Somebody asked me that question years ago, and I said, well, if it's true that one day time travel is discovered, then time travel exists right now.
Yeah.
Because they would come back to this time and look at us, which means time travel exists right now. Now, I do know that human intellect, imagination, can visit time.
Somewhere in time. The movie with Superman, he did that with his mind and traveled back in time.
Yeah. And when you do it, you can affect it. We can actually go back into our own past, and we can affect that moment in time. How other people are affected by it, and how you are affected by it. I mean, you can't replace the finger that was cut off, but you can affect all the people and all the events that occurred around the loss of that finger. There's a lot of things that you can do. Time is not a straight line. It's more like a tube. And within the constraint of everything that happened in the average reality, you can move things around. Like I knew a woman who was, 50 years old. And I asked her, why don't you do this? And she said, well, I never made it through the fourth grade because my father, didn't let us go to class. And I said, you're 50. How could not going to the fourth grade affect you now? Go back to the fourth grade in your mind and finish the fourth grade and then come back. And you can do all those things now. You don't have to say my life ended at fourth grade.
Wow. Mind blowing. If I was a time traveler, I'd definitely do it with you. Man,
my books are time travel, and you read them, you're going to take a journey.
Yes. And those that came on late, you can also listen to him. He reads them as audiobooks. You purchase it, and then he'll send you all of the audiobooks. And he is, as you can tell, he's got a great voice. He's an amazing storyteller, writer. engineer, scientist, and best friend. I mean, I love this guy. So you all want to go to disclosurecon.com. Let me put that down here real quick so you guys can see it. The event is October 2nd and 3rd at the Honda Casino Resort in Pine Top, Arizona. It is limited seating. We're about 200 to 300 max. So get your tickets now at DisclosureCon.
If you know any network executives, invite them to come, because we're going to turn the Birth Trilogy into a TV series.
Yes, yeah. Anybody in the media, TV, film industry, Netflix, Amazon, anything, come on to the event, and I'll have an introduction with you too. So, I can't wait. We're gonna have so much fun when you get here. I'm so stoked about it. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Brooks Agnew. For those who just came on, like, who is this? Who's the guy? What's his credentials? His credentials are awesome. That's all you have to say. He is the jack of all trades.
Way too much education. We don't want to talk about that.
And that's
this way. I was never a little kid. I was an adult in a kid's body, and growing up, going to college at 12 and all of that, I was so out of place socially. I had no social life whatsoever. But it gave me a head start and allowed me to see things other people don't see, because I had the youth and open-mindedness to face them.
Yeah. Well, and see if I can do this in a couple minutes. Have you seen The Big Bang Theory?
I've seen series? A few episodes, yeah.
And Sheldon's the quirky one, but he was so ahead of his time. I'm not saying you were ever. I can't ever. You ride motorcycles and you go to rallies, and I mean you're such a great patriot. But I mean, was it difficult for you being smarter than everybody else?
Yeah, I was one of the top math students in the state of California. California is a country. Okay, it's not a state; it's a country.
Yeah.
So when the newspaper came to interview me in the 8th grade, because I had gone so many years without missing a question. By the way, I went all the way almost to the end of college without missing a question.
Whoa.
I remember the one question. There was several questions about, algebra and all that. But then they said, so what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, I want to be an asteroid miner. We hadn't even set foot on the moon yet.
Right. I know.
I don't remember where the conversation went from there, but I do know that the interviewing lady was absolutely out of her league. So, and I had these conversations. That was the 8th grade. From there, they went up. When I went to JPL, my friends went with me. They stayed. They launched satellites and worked for Hughes for 18 years, 20 years. One of them owns a satellite to this day. And I went in the Air Force instead because I wanted to go to college, and my family was from the other side of the track. So I had to have the GI Bill. And so I graduated second in my class. And the only reason I graduated second instead of first is because I didn't use the calculator. That was it. Wow. And I'll just tell you a quick story. It was, I think there were 16 blocks, and the blocks were anywhere from a week to 3 weeks long. So I had gone something like 11 or 12 blocks, and I had missed a question. And the civilians who were GS 11s and GS 12s, these are like retired people that knew this job really well, this electronics engineering job. And one of the GS 12s was a real smart aleck, and I was too. He said, well, when you get to my block, you're not going to pass it. And I thought, yeah, whatever. And so I got into the block, and I was doing really well in it. And the final exam came up, and he said, so if you're so smart, you need an 80 to pass my class, which is, I think, 11 questions to get through his exam to get an 80. He said, you answer 11 questions and put your pencil down. And then if you miss a question, you fail the block. I said, okay. So I answered 11 questions, and I put my pencil down. I sat there for the rest of the class period and waited for it to end. That was a Friday. So Monday, 6:00 in the morning, I get ready to march my flight, the mile to the school on the base.
Mm-hmm.
And we get there and there's nobody in the parking lot. And we're like looking around going, wait a minute, every day we come here, third shift is getting out, first shift's coming in. We kind of all say our hellos and where we're going to meet up later on that day. But the parking lot was empty. No flight. I said, it's Monday, right? Everybody said, yeah, it's Monday. This is, we're all supposed to be here.
Mm-hmm.
So we went up and opened up the double doors and they were all at attention on either side of the hallway. And I walked in and at the end of the hallway was that professor, that GS-12. And he said, you passed. So that's why I came in second instead of first in my class.
Wow. Well, that's one of many amazing stories you have. That's you just the Burr series is going to be great, but your life story on film is what's going to be just awesome.
That's what my daughter says. I'm writing my memoirs right now, and I'm up to high school, and it's 250 pages.
Oh,
so I said from here on, it's a 24 volume set.
Wow. Yeah, I've been threatening to do mine, but I don't know. I'll do it eventually.
She's worried, I'll be 67 in May, and it's like, well, I don't want you to, not get it written down, and then I don't have you for posterity in print. And I said, oh, don't worry, I'm only halfway finished, so we're fine.
Wow. Well, Brooks, just phenomenal show. Everybody loved it. Everybody's just saying that this is so interesting. Someone wants to know where we're located. The event's in Pine Top, Arizona, if that's what you're asking.
And I'm outside of Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yeah. Chloe says, you're as sharp as a marble. And so, yeah. Anyway, by the way, Off-World Adam, thank you. Yeah, Hawkeye Pierce, thank you. I was doing the Hawaiian shirt today.
That's
Wanted to
nice.
be class.
Nice.
I had to get spriffied up from my friend.
I'm wearing
Brooks,
my hog shirt. Yeah, Harley Owners Group.
Yes, and that you are. And it's a nice bike. I mean, I'm thinking about getting one soon. And if I do, I'm making a trip out your neck of the woods. We'll have to go ride.
Far out.
Definitely. I think that's going to be it for tonight. I want to say thanks again to Brooks Agnew joining us here on 1028 Live. His information, he just started his TikTok page. He's got one video up. He's going to get some more up. And it's at Brooks Agnew 695. So please follow him, share, like, and you'll be glad you did if you like this show. First Floor Audio says, most engaging indeed. Great show. Good times. Mary Pierce says, thank you, gents. And Chloe says, I'm in New York. I will be following you both. Brooks, you are cool.
Thanks. My kids made me cool. I was a nerd my whole life.
Well, they did a good job. So, and his other website is North Pole Inner Earth Expedition.com about that. And I didn't do one for X Square Radio. What is it? Real quick.
Well, it's AmericaFreeRadio.com. AmericaFreeRadio.com. But if you want to follow me, you want to know my philosophy and the books in the store and all, go to BrooksAgnew.com.
Okay, I'll do that.
BrooksAgnew.com is where everything is linked. And, there are things in the store that will benefit you. And
there we go. And I spelled it right. Good. Oh, yes. All right. So, yeah, write those down, folks. Check him out. And this is just a tip of the iceberg of his knowledge. All of his videos. How long have you been on YouTube, real quick? Or on social media? About 10 years? 20?
Yeah, probably 20 years since 96.
So there's plenty of archives to check out then.
Oh, yeah. There's thousands of hours of archives out there.
Excellent. And Mary says she wants to go on the expedition too. So there we go.
Hope you don't get seasick. We're talking 100-foot seas.
Yes, it can get rough. All right, folks. Thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight here on 1028 Live on Facebook, YouTube, a couple other places. We tried TikTok, but we had an audio issue. I'll fix that next time. And yeah, be sure to check out Brooks. And then his TikTok is there. Brooks Agnew 695, North Pole Inner Earth Expedition, or NPIEE.com. And if you guys want to follow me, go to 1028 Productions on the Talk of Tick. And yeah, that's all my little selfless or shameless self-promotions. Get that out of the way. So thank you again. And remember, folks, as long as we all lift each other up, then we will all rise together. I'm Doc Skinner's 1028 Live. This is my dear friend, Brooks Agnew. And hopefully we'll see you at Disclosure Con. Good night, everybody.